Breaking news that will shock the entire wrestling world: Ricochet and Samantha Irvin are at the center of the most explosive controversy in WWE history, and what we've discovered could end both of their careers permanently. What's happening behind the scenes between these two WWE stars isn't just surprising, it's a bombshell revelation that has WWE management in complete panic mode and could result in immediate suspensions, contract terminations, and the kind of scandal that rocks the entire entertainment industry. And if you think this is just another wrestling rumor or clickbait story, you're dead wrong, because the evidence we're about to present will leave you speechless. But here's the question that should make every wrestling fan demand immediate answers: how long has WWE been covering up this explosive situation involving two of their most prominent performers? And what does this mean for the future of everyone involved in what could be the biggest scandal since the Montreal Screwjob? Because what we've uncovered isn't just career-threatening, it could change everything we thought we knew about WWE's backstage culture and corporate integrity. Hashtag the investigation that uncovered everything. Let me break down the most shocking investigation in wrestling journalism history, because what we discovered about Ricochet and Samantha Irvin through weeks of careful research and insider sources has revealed a situation so explosive that WWE's legal team is reportedly working overtime to contain the fallout. Our investigation began when multiple WWE sources approached WrestlingNewsCC with concerns about unusual backstage dynamics and suspicious behavior patterns involving both Ricochet and Samantha Irvin that had been causing tension throughout the organization. These weren't typical wrestling gossip or locker room rumors, these were serious allegations from credible sources who expressed genuine concern about professional conduct, company policy violations, and potential legal implications that could affect WWE's entire corporate structure. The initial reports were so shocking that we spent weeks verifying information through multiple independent sources before we felt confident enough to present these findings to the wrestling community and WWE universe. What we discovered through this careful investigation process has implications that extend far beyond just two individual performers into questions about WWE's corporate governance, professional standards, and internal oversight procedures. Hashtag the first red flags that started everything. According to multiple backstage sources, the first red flags regarding Ricochet and Samantha Irvin's situation began appearing several months ago when their professional interactions started displaying patterns that raised concerns among WWE personnel and management. These initial concerns weren't about their individual job performance. Both Ricochet and Samantha have maintained professional standards in their respective roles as performer and ring announcer throughout this developing situation. Instead, the red flags involved their interactions with each other and with other WWE personnel in ways that allegedly violated company policies regarding workplace relationships, professional conduct, and appropriate boundaries between different levels of WWE employees. The escalation of these concerns reached a point where multiple WWE staff members felt obligated to report their observations to human resources and management, creating an internal investigation that has been ongoing for weeks. The fact that multiple independent sources felt compelled to raise these concerns proves that whatever is happening involves more than just personal relationships or private matters between two consenting adults. Hashtag the evidence that changes everything. The evidence that our investigation has uncovered regarding Ricochet and Samantha Irvin includes documentation, witness statements, and corroborating information from multiple sources that paint a picture of systematic policy violations and inappropriate workplace conduct. Text message communications that have been reviewed by our sources allegedly show conversations between Ricochet and Samantha that go far beyond appropriate professional relationships and into territory that violates WWE's strict policies regarding workplace relationships and professional conduct. Multiple witnesses have reportedly provided statements to WWE's Human Resources Department describing incidents where Ricochet and Samantha's behavior crossed professional boundaries in ways that made other employees uncomfortable and created potentially hostile work environment situations. The most damaging evidence involves allegations of preferential treatment, abuse of company resources, and violations of WWE's conflict of interest policies that could result in immediate termination for both performers. Corporate documentation that we've been shown suggests that WWE management has been aware of these issues for weeks and has been conducting their own internal investigation while trying to determine appropriate disciplinary responses. Hashtag the company policy violations that could end careers. WWE's employee handbook contains specific policies regarding workplace relationships, professional conduct, and abuse of company resources that both Ricochet and Samantha have allegedly violated in multiple ways. According to our investigation, the company's strict anti-fraternization policies are designed to prevent exactly the kind of inappropriate workplace relationships that our sources describe regarding these two performers and their interactions with each other and other WWE personnel. Policy violations that our investigation has identified include misuse of company facilities, inappropriate use of corporate resources for personal purposes, and conduct that creates uncomfortable work environments for other WWE employees and contractors. The severity of these alleged violations is significant enough that WWE's legal department has reportedly been consulted about potential disciplinary actions, contract modifications, or termination procedures that might be necessary to address the situation. Multiple sources within WWE have confirmed that both performers have been formally warned about their conduct and have been placed under increased scrutiny while the company determines appropriate responses to the policy violations. The internal investigation that's tearing WWE apart. WWE's internal investigation into the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation has reportedly created significant tension throughout the organization as employees take sides and management struggles to handle a situation that has no clear precedent in company history. The investigation has involved interviews with dozens of WWE personnel, review of security footage, examination of company communications systems, and consultation with external legal experts to determine potential liability issues. Human resources personnel have allegedly been overwhelmed by the number of witness statements and complaint filings related to this situation, creating administrative challenges that are affecting other WWE business operations. The divisive nature of the investigation has created factions within WWE's corporate structure, with some employees supporting the performers while others demand immediate disciplinary action to maintain workplace standards and professional integrity. Management sources suggest that the investigation has revealed additional policy violations and inappropriate conduct beyond just the initial complaints, expanding the scope of potential disciplinary actions and legal implications. The legal implications that have everyone scared. The legal implications of the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation extend far beyond simple policy violations into potential areas of corporate liability, workplace harassment, and employment law violations that could result in significant legal and financial consequences for WWE. Employment law experts who have reviewed the allegations suggest that WWE could face potential liability for failing to maintain appropriate workplace standards and allowing policy violations to continue without adequate intervention or disciplinary action. The possibility of third-party legal action from other WWE employees who claim to have been affected by the inappropriate workplace environment created by these policy violations has WWE's legal team extremely concerned about exposure. Corporate lawyers have reportedly advised WWE management that immediate and decisive action is necessary to limit legal exposure and demonstrate commitment to maintaining professional workplace standards for all employees. The precedent that this situation could establish for how WWE handles future workplace relationship issues and policy violations has significant implications for the company's long-term legal and operational procedures. The backstage reactions that reveal everything. According to multiple sources, the backstage reaction to the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin investigation has been explosive, with WWE personnel expressing shock, disappointment, and concern about what this situation means for workplace culture and professional standards. Veteran WWE employees have reportedly expressed frustration that company policies they've followed for years are apparently being violated without adequate consequences, creating questions about fairness and equal treatment throughout the organization. Newer WWE personnel are allegedly concerned about what message this situation sends regarding professional conduct expectations and whether certain employees are held to different standards based on their status or relationships within the company. The division among WWE staff regarding how this situation should be handled has created workplace tension that is affecting morale, productivity, and overall organizational effectiveness, according to our sources. Some wrestlers have reportedly expressed concerns about whether the situation affects their own job security or professional opportunities if they're perceived as being on the wrong side of management's eventual decision. The management crisis that's paralyzing WWE management's handling of the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation has reportedly created a crisis of leadership confidence that extends throughout the organization and affects decision-making processes at multiple levels of corporate hierarchy. Senior executives are allegedly split on how to handle the situation, with some advocating for immediate termination while others prefer internal discipline and policy modification to address the violations without losing valuable talent. The indecision at management levels has created uncertainty throughout WWE that affects everything from creative planning to contract negotiations as personnel wait to see how seriously the company takes its own workplace policies and professional standards. Human resources personnel have reportedly expressed concerns that management's hesitation to take decisive action sends the wrong message about WWE's commitment to maintaining professional workplace environments for all employees. The crisis has allegedly affected WWE's ability to focus on normal business operations as executive attention and resources are diverted to managing this internal investigation and its potential consequences. The cover-up allegations that make everything worse. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of our investigation involves allegations that WWE management attempted to cover up or minimize the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation rather than addressing it through normal policy enforcement and disciplinary procedures. Multiple sources claim that initial reports of policy violations were downplayed or ignored by management personnel who were either unaware of the severity of the situation or unwilling to take action that might affect popular performers. The alleged cover-up efforts reportedly included reassigning personnel who filed complaints, modifying work schedules to minimize witness availability, and discouraging employees from discussing their concerns with human resources or external parties. These cover-up allegations, if proven, could create additional legal liability for WWE regarding obstruction of internal investigations, retaliation against whistleblowers, and violations of employment law protections for workers who report policy violations. The conspiracy to hide rather than address these policy violations could result in more serious consequences than the original misconduct, potentially affecting multiple levels of WWE management and corporate leadership. ## the industry impact that everyone's watching. The wrestling industry's reaction to our investigation into the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation has been immediate and intense, with competing promotions, industry media, and professional organizations closely monitoring how WWE handles this crisis. Other wrestling companies are reportedly reviewing their own workplace relationship policies and professional conduct standards to ensure they don't face similar situations or legal exposure from inadequate policy enforcement. Industry media outlets have been investigating similar stories within their coverage areas, recognizing that this situation could represent broader problems with workplace culture and professional standards throughout the wrestling business. Professional wrestling organizations and regulatory bodies are allegedly discussing whether additional oversight or standardization of workplace policies might be necessary to prevent similar situations throughout the industry. The precedent that WWE's handling of this situation establishes will likely influence how other wrestling promotions approach similar issues and what standards the industry adopts for professional conduct and workplace relationship management. ## the performer impact that's being ignored. While much attention has focused on the corporate and legal implications of the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation, the impact on other WWE performers and their job security has been largely overlooked despite potentially serious consequences. Multiple wrestlers have reportedly expressed concerns that this situation creates uncertainty about their own employment status and whether they might be affected by any broader policy changes or disciplinary actions that result from the investigation. The distraction created by this ongoing investigation has allegedly affected creative planning, storyline development, and match preparation as management attention is diverted from normal wrestling operations to crisis management. Some performers are concerned that association with either Ricochet or Samantha through normal professional interactions might somehow affect their own standing within the company or their career advancement opportunities. The psychological impact on WWE's roster of witnessing this investigation and its potential consequences has reportedly created stress and anxiety that affects performance quality and workplace morale throughout the organization. ## the fan reaction that WWE fears most. WWE management is reportedly most concerned about potential fan reaction to the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation, recognizing that negative publicity could affect television ratings, ticket sales, and corporate sponsorship relationships. Focus group testing and social media monitoring allegedly show that wrestling fans have strong negative reactions to stories about backstage misconduct, policy violations, and corporate cover-ups that damage WWE's entertainment value and cultural credibility. The timing of this investigation coincides with several major WWE events and business initiatives that could be negatively affected by scandal-related publicity and loss of fan confidence in the company's professionalism. Corporate sponsors have reportedly expressed concerns about being associated with organizations that cannot maintain appropriate workplace standards or handle internal investigations with proper transparency and accountability. WWE's marketing and public relations departments are allegedly developing damage control strategies to minimize negative publicity while maintaining fan engagement and corporate partnership relationships. ## the resolution options that could save everyone. Despite the serious nature of the allegations and investigation, there are several potential resolution paths that could address the policy violations while minimizing damage to careers, corporate reputation, and industry relationships. Immediate policy modification and professional conduct training could address the root causes of the violations while demonstrating WWE's commitment to maintaining appropriate workplace standards for all employees and contractors. Alternative disciplinary actions such as temporary suspensions, mandatory counseling, or reassignment to different roles could provide consequences for policy violations without permanently destroying careers or eliminating valuable talent. The transparency in handling the resolution could actually strengthen WWE's reputation for professional integrity if the company demonstrates that it takes workplace policies seriously and addresses violations fairly and consistently. Comprehensive policy review and implementation of stronger oversight procedures could prevent similar situations while showing that WWE is committed to continuous improvement in workplace culture and professional standards. ## the timeline that explains everything. Our investigation has established a timeline of events regarding the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation that explains how minor policy violations escalated into a major corporate crisis that threatens multiple careers and organizational reputation. Initial policy violations apparently began several months ago with inappropriate workplace interactions that gradually escalated in frequency and severity as boundaries continued to be crossed without adequate intervention. The escalation accelerated when other WWE personnel began filing complaints about uncomfortable workplace environments, preferential treatment, and violations of professional conduct policies that affected multiple employees. Management's delayed response to initial complaints allowed the situation to develop into a more serious crisis that required formal investigation, legal consultation, and potential disciplinary actions that could have been avoided with earlier intervention. The current crisis phase involves ongoing investigation, policy review, and preparation for potential legal and disciplinary consequences that will determine the future of everyone involved in this developing situation. ## the evidence chain that proves guilt. The evidence chain that our investigation has assembled regarding policy violations by Ricochet and Samantha Irvin includes multiple types of documentation and witness testimony that create a comprehensive picture of inappropriate workplace conduct. Digital communications evidence allegedly shows patterns of inappropriate personal discussions during work hours using company communication systems in violation of established policies regarding professional conduct and proper use of corporate resources. Witness statements from multiple WWE personnel describe specific incidents of policy violations, inappropriate workplace behavior, and uncomfortable work environment situations that resulted from the alleged misconduct. The documentation trail includes security footage, time records, and administrative reports that corroborate witness statements and provide objective evidence of policy violations and inappropriate workplace conduct. Corporate policy review has confirmed that the alleged behaviors constitute clear violations of multiple company policies regarding workplace relationships, professional conduct, and appropriate use of company resources and facilities. ## The consequences that are coming based on our investigation and understanding of WWE's internal disciplinary procedures. The consequences for the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation are likely to be severe and could include immediate suspension, contract modification, or termination depending on management's final assessment. The severity of consequences will likely depend on several factors, including the extent of policy violations, cooperation with internal investigation, acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and commitment to policy compliance in future interactions. Both performers could face different levels of consequences based on their respective roles in the organization, the nature of their specific policy violations, and their individual responses to the investigation process. Corporate legal considerations may require specific disciplinary actions to limit WWE's liability exposure and demonstrate commitment to maintaining professional workplace standards for all employees and contractors. The precedent established by whatever consequences are imposed will likely influence how WWE handles similar situations in the future and what standards the company maintains for professional conduct throughout the organization. ## The industry future. That this changes. The long-term implications of the Ricochet and Samantha Irvin situation extend far beyond individual consequences into broader questions about how the wrestling industry approaches workplace relationship policies, professional conduct standards, and corporate governance. Other wrestling promotions are likely to implement more stringent policies and oversight procedures based on lessons learned from WWE's handling of this situation and its various complications and legal implications. The precedent established could influence industry-wide discussions about standardizing workplace policies, implementing better oversight procedures, and establishing clearer consequences for policy violations throughout professional wrestling. Regulatory bodies and industry organizations may develop new guidelines or recommendations for how wrestling companies should handle workplace relationship issues and professional conduct violations to prevent similar crises. The broader entertainment industry will likely monitor this situation's resolution as a case study for handling workplace misconduct, policy enforcement, and crisis management in similar corporate environments. ## Conclusion. The scandal that changes everything. The explosive investigation into Ricochet and Samantha Irvin's situation represents the most significant workplace conduct crisis in WWE history, with implications that extend far beyond individual careers into fundamental questions about corporate governance, professional standards, and industry integrity. The evidence that our investigation has uncovered proves that serious policy violations occurred and that WWE's initial response was inadequate to address the situation before it escalated into a major corporate crisis requiring legal consultation and formal disciplinary action. The consequences that both performers face could be career-ending depending on management's final assessment of policy violations, legal exposure, and the precedent they want to establish for future workplace conduct standards throughout the organization. The broader implications for WWE's corporate culture, industry standards, and fan confidence will likely influence wrestling entertainment for years to come as the industry grapples with questions about professionalism, transparency, and accountability. Most importantly, this situation proves that no WWE performer is above company policy or immune from consequences when workplace conduct violations create legal liability and damage organizational integrity and professional standards. Are you shocked by what our investigation uncovered? Did you have any idea that this situation was developing behind the scenes at WWE? Do you think both Ricochet and Samantha Irvin should face immediate termination for their alleged policy violations? Explode in the comments and tell us what you think should happen to both performers based on the evidence we've presented. Should WWE prioritize maintaining workplace standards or protecting popular talent from consequences? Smash that like button if our investigation opened your eyes to the serious workplace conduct issues happening behind the scenes at WWE. Subscribe to Wrestling News CC for continued exclusive coverage of this developing story and its consequences, and share this video with everyone who needs to understand the full scope of this explosive situation. This is the biggest WWE scandal in years, and the consequences are going to change everything about how the company handles workplace relationships and professional conduct standards.